Come be a part of Doc Holliday's Rock Splitting Politics with your host, Dr. Ed Holliday. Hear the voices of liberty speaking all across America. Doc Holliday provides thought-provoking interviews and commentary about the issues and actions that are afflicting this country and what we need to do to get America back on track. Get fired up, get inspired, get on board with Doc Holliday's Rock Splitting Politics right now.
And here we go.
And that's the sound of rock cracking. Once again, you've got Doc Holliday's Rock Splitting Politics right here on webtalkradio.net. That's webtalkradio.net. I'm your host, Dr. Ed Holliday. We're glad to have you here. And wow, so much going on in the world of politics. Yes, the politics are breaking, cracking, tearing apart what's going on Capitol Hill. This week, even as we speak, there's some Halloween horrors going on, so you could say, right there on Capitol Hill as the Democrats are pushing through just unbelievable ghoulish atrocities that are coming to the American taxpayers thanks to the Democratic Party. How many will get through? They have enough power to get them all through. And what will it mean for America? We're going to talk about that today. I got 10 of the horrors that are coming to Americans if the Democratic Party gets its way. Brought to you by Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, and Chuck Schumer, and Nancy Pelosi. And that is what you need to be aware of. They're going to give the top 10. I call it my top 10. You will have more. I'm not even able to touch on all the horrors that are coming our way through the tax code, through foreign policy, through all kind of things. And we're going to go over what I'm calling the top 10 ghoulish Halloween horrors that are coming to America through the Democratic Party. Before we get there, let me just talk a little bit about what was happening on the border. We talked about in Del Rio, Texas, at the bridge there, and as over 10,000 Haitians were lining up because they knew Uncle Joe Biden was going to let them in. And they acted like they were getting some of the Haitian immigrants flown back to Haiti, and they did on a plane or two. They had people taking over buses and driving away from into America, who knows where. But there was a photograph, a photographer went down there, and it showed the Border Patrol on horses going to stop some of the Haitian immigrants from rushing into the United States. And someone said it looked like they had whips going after the Haitian refugees. Someone said. The photographer who was there, who took the photos, decried that. How could anybody take that and take a picture and say it was equal to slave days with overseers on horses whipping slaves? They did not use whips anywhere. Now, they may have whips with the horses like any cowboy may have. And yet, that was the message that came across. And the president said they were going to pay a price. The Border Patrol would pay a price. What? For doing their job, keeping people we don't know who they are from rushing into the borders. We have open borders now, as well over 1 million people have come in since Joe Biden was president. Well over 1 million people that we know of, that we're counting. How many are we not counting? How much is the drug cartels bringing over? Who's in control of Mexico? Is it the drug cartels? Well, guess what? It may be California and America that's under the control of the drug cartels. Do you think that's possible? Well, for some reason, Joe Biden wants the borders wide open. Man, you talk about Hunter Biden making money. If they ever just figured out the drug cartels, why they got open borders, no telling how. I guess that money wouldn't be on the books. Unlike they find out, that Hunter Biden when his dad was vice president, trying to cut deals for millions of dollars with Libya. The story just keeps on growing and growing of Hunter Biden. How would the media do anything? How would they portray any of the Trump children if they were doing even a tenth of what Hunter Biden's doing? Just we talked about it before, our lapdog media, and it's bad for America when you have a lapdog media. I will say that the Arizona vote results were coming out. They came out last Friday, and they were coming out just as we were getting ready to go on the air. So we got this recorded, and we'll have to talk about that next week. But let's get into this. Top 10, Doc Holliday's top 10 Halloween ghoulish horrors coming to Americans thanks to the Democratic Party. Unless some miracle happens and it's stopped, they got the votes to do it. And starting the countdown of number 10 is the SALT tax, S-A-L-T, state and local taxes. If you remember, Donald Trump and the Republicans, they limited the SALT tax exemption on your federal income tax to $10,000. So what does that mean? Well, unless you're super rich, it doesn't affect many people. But it really affects the very rich that live in high-tax states and high-tax cities, say like New York, California, New York City, San Francisco, Los Angeles, Chicago, Illinois. So what does that really mean? Most people don't understand it, but the multi-millionaires, even the billionaires, sometimes write off millions of dollars from having to pay federal taxes on. Why? Because they live in these high-tax states. So exactly what does that mean? Trump and the Republicans discovered or understood that for decades, the red states, the flyover states, have been paying more than they should. And those very rich that make up much of the Democratic elites in these big cities, they have not been paying their fair share. And now, since Trump and Republicans discovered that and remedied that and made taxes more fair for everyone in America, now the Democrats want to not tax the rich. You see AOC wearing her dress to that gala that cost $35,000 to get in. I hope she's paying her taxes on that free gift she got, $35,000. Socialists always seem to be able to be invited to these things, and she wore a dress saying tax the rich. Then don't get rid of the SALT tax exemption. It taxes the rich. And she and others want to get rid of it. And how is it more fair now after Trump and Republicans took care of it? Well, it's more fair because it's simply this. If you want to live in a high-tax state, in a high-tax city, that is great. I mean, live where you want to live. But because you have to pay high taxes, don't push more taxes on those who don't want high taxes in their states. It's this. Millionaires and billionaires sometimes write off millions of dollars that they should pay on United States federal income taxes. But since they pay such a high tax for state and local, they write that off. They shouldn't be able to. If they don't want to live in a high-tax state, they can move. But if they choose to, if they don't pay the right amount of federal taxes, if they get that high $1 million worth of exemptions, it forces more money to come from the states that don't have such high taxes. It's not fair. What is fair is to cut and limit the SALT tax exemptions to $10,000. Soak the rich, AOC. Soak the rich, Bernie Sanders. I dare you. Do not change what Trump and Republicans did to tax the rich. And let it be known. This the media. They'll show AOC's dress tax the rich, but they will not explain why the SALT taxes are helping everyone except the millionaires and billionaires who have for decades not been paying their fair share because of the state and local tax exemption they've been getting away with. How about number 9? One of the things that there is an assault on all Americans in the legislation before the House, going for the Senate. Anybody, any American with over $600, I didn't say $6,000, $60,000, or $6 million. I said $600. Anybody, any citizen, or anybody, don't have to be a citizen. They really, well, I don't know. I hadn't read this legislation. The illegal immigrants get so much favored treatment over citizens. I don't know. Maybe it's just the citizens of America. Anybody has $600 in a bank, everything that's in that account needs to be reported to the government, give them full access. They want to have everything on every bank account over $600 from every bank in America for all the people who have that in there. You talk about big government, big brother staring down your face and making life miserable for having to keep bank records and records of why you spend it, why you move the money here. They want you to provide everything to them. It's just like the IRS. When you go before them, you can't say, they want everything provable, and it's on you. If you don't have it together, it's your fault. You're the one that goes to jail. You're the one that gets fined. And the IRS doesn't care about your little broken heart. So, thanks to the Democrats, if you have over $600 in the bank, the Democrats are making they're watching every move you make, every financial move. It can be in cash, but if it's in that bank over $600, you've got to tell the government what you're doing with that. You got to provide the evidence. What are you doing with that money over $600? Well, are Americans ready for that? Do they know this is what the Democratic Party is pushing? Do they know? Do they know? Well, you heard it right here on Doc Holliday's Rock Splitting Politics. How about number 8? This is something I've never seen happen. And you think, oh, go ahead and do it. Taxing unrealized investment gains. Did you hear that? It's always been forever. Well, I've got unrealized gains, meaning if you got stock that's accumulated, that it's gone up. Say you bought it something worth $100 and now it's at $1,000. Well, you don't. The word is, it's paper money. You don't have it until you sell it, because you're taking a risk. If it's at $1,000, there could be a drop in the stock market. Or the company, they could find somebody's doing something illegal, and all of a sudden that $1,000 goes down to zero. So there's a risk as an investor to hold that. And until you sell it, you don't have to pay taxes on it, because it's really not, it's still at risk. But now Joe Biden and the Democrats are saying, we are going to tax the unrealized gains. If you're sitting on that money, they're going to tax it. Even though you can't sell it, you haven't sold it, you don't have anything you can pay the taxes with. It's a horrible idea. You see what I mean? You weren't going to sell it. You're not prepared to sell it. You don't want to pay taxes, but they are going to force you to pay taxes, and therefore you have to sell it unless you pull money out of another account. What if you don't have money in another account? Then you're forced to sell something, and then the taxes will be even more because you just sold it. Horrible, horrible big brother politics that are there to hurt Americans, and it's going to hurt the economy if this comes through. Hey, how about number 7? One of the horrible things is already we're seeing, Joe Biden hasn't not been president even for close to a year. And we're seeing open borders, chaos at the borders, chaos everywhere when you look down at our southern border. And that's what the Democrats are promising with the legislation they're putting through. They want amnesty. amnesty for 8 million. They say 8 million.